Welcome back to another episode of For the Love of Lore. I am Austin, your co-host for today's adventure.
And I'm Abby. We are so glad you're here.
Today in Middle-earth, we will learn about the settling of the Noldor elves in Beleriand.
And over in Westeros, we are breezing over to the Stormlands, where we get yet another cameo appearance from Brandon the Builder, as well as a formal introduction to House Baratheon.
So, grab a flag and a veil and let's go on an adventure. Welcome back, my fellow wanderers. I know it has been a minute, but we are back.
It's been a time.
It has been a time.
But we're back.
We are back.
We're ready to explore lore.
We have so much more lore to explore. So we hope you guys have been doing well. Sorry, it's been a while. Life got a little crazy. It was it's been a heck of a few months. So I think our last post was back in March. Call me crazy. I think that's correct.
I believe that is accurate.
So since then, what you been doing, sis? What you been up to?
Well, it was so many things, but closed out another school year. Said farewell to the class of 2025.
Good class, bad class?
It was good, great class, actually,
Okay.
great class. We finished the yearbook, got it sent to the printers, and now we've even gotten it in. It's like in the building. I sorted through them all. I help with yearbook it's one of my side hobbies, gigs, if you will.
Dang.
Yeah, so moving right along work-wise. We both got some tats.
We did.
We're going to show them off to you real fast if you want to go first, because yours actually has to do with lore.
Yes. So mine, I mean, you can probably tell by this podcast, I'm a bit of a nerd. So I have been wanting a tattoo for a long time, and I figured what better way to start than with a little Lord of the Rings tattoo. Bam!
Looky there.
I hope camera can do it justice, but it's on my bicep. It's written in Elvish, and it's an Elvish phrase that doesn't appear in the books ever. It's one that I kind of custom created. It is based off of Gandalf's quote from the Fellowship when he's talking to Frodo in the Mines of Moria, and Frodo's all like, "Wah, I don't think I can do this." And Gandalf is talking about like how all we have to decide what to do with time that. No, sorry, hold on. I can't mess this quote up.
You got it. I believe in
Frodo's talking about he's deciding what to do. If he should take the ring, give it to somebody else, and Gandalf is like, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. I finally got there.
There you go.
But I think it's a great quote. I think it's something I carry around in life every day is like, you don't know how much time you have, so the time you do have, use it to its fullest. So I really like that quote. Put it in Elvish to make it a little more nerdy, put it on my bicep, and it's there now, and I love it, and now I want 100 more tattoos.
Bam. There you go.
And I got to see yours, sis.
Okay, so mine's a little harder to see. Well, I guess I just have to twist my arm to see the whole thing. So here you go.
That's bougie right there.
You have to be a YouTuber to see the tats. Just
yes, find us on YouTube at For the Love of Lore.
Mm-hmm. And mine is not nerd lore. It's more personal lore, but it's a Swedish flower called a mullein, like Mullein. It grows other places too, but it is native to Sweden. It's really pretty in real life. It's like the flowers are either like white or like bright yellow. And it said it grows in like a bunch of like the fjords,
The fjords.
We are Swedish, by the way. I didn't just pick Sweden for no reason. Like we are.
The fjords where Sven Svensson himself probably wanted.
Our ancestor, yeah.
Sven Svensson. That's why I feel like
banger name.
At some point in this family, there needs to be a child's name who is Swan Swanson.
Yeah. Not my kids.
Someday. We'll leave that to Alex.
But it said this flower can still, it still blooms even in like the coldest, harshest conditions. And I was like, so do I.
Yes, queen.
If you're on the pod only, I did a hair flip.
As is warranted. I mean, with how long my hair is getting, I can almost do one now. I could do it with my beard.
Yeah. So there's our tat updates.
Yes. My life updates is it's been crazy. It's been really crazy. So since we last posted, April hit, and like for the landscaping biz, April is always the busiest month of the year, just because things are growing, things are blooming, you're planting, you're cleaning up leaves, you're doing all that sorts of hoopla.
Mm-hmm.
And then May hit, and my girlfriend graduated from college, and then we have made the awesome decision that she moved here. We got a little apartment, so we drove her cross country. Got moved into a new apartment. It's got exposed brick. We love exposed brick.
Mm-hmm. Their apartment is really cool, actually.
We love it. It feels like home. It's awesome.
I was their first visitor.
Yes, you were. Let the record show.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally 4 days after we got moved in, it was my brother's bachelor party. So I had that, and then went right back into work, where I got insanely busy for another month. And then we went on a little vacay.
We did a whole big family
a whole fellowship vacay. It was a journey.
There was, yep. Mm-hmm.
It was a very long journey. We drove.
Yep.
We went to South Carolina, Charleston area, and we decided to drive. I don't know if I will ever do that again.
Mm.
But we had a good time. I really needed some beach time, and that was very nice to have.
Yeah, a lot of time in the sun.
Yes. Got very tan. I'm already losing it. I need to get back outside. But I just needed some time to sit and read, which sounds so simple, but it's sometimes hard to do when you get caught up in real life with how busy you are. And like, I literally have in my apartment a reading nook corner where I've got a big recliner chair. I've got a light behind me. I've got a speaker next to it for when I put my little nerdy music on, and I haven't used it yet. It's been in this apartment for almost 2 months, and I haven't used it yet. So
it's time.
It's time. I need to get back to reading. It's my favorite pastime. It relaxes me, and this vacation was kind of a reminder of like, make some more time to read. That's kind of my message to all y'all, is reading's good for you. Mm-hmm. Get out there and read something. It doesn't have to be nerdy, but it should be. So that's kind of my updates. And now we're back. I think we're settling back in. We just hired a ton of new people, so that way it's going to get me out of the field. It's going to get 2 of my managers out of the field, so we can actually do our jobs.
Hey.
So I shouldn't be coming home as physically tired. So I think this is my new.
Now you're just going to be emotionally and mentally tired, like me.
Yes, exactly. It's going to be a new kind of tired.
Next week is my last week of summer, and then school starts again.
No, that went fast.
It did.
That went really fast. You guys start what, August
11th?
Jeez, that's pretty gross.
Yeah, the fall semester is always my favorite because there's so many events in the fall. I mean, like I teach high school, so we still get to do like homecoming week, and which is nice. Every day feels like a Friday because it's a dress up day, and there's festivities and stuff, and then there's Halloween and Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. So the fall semester I never seem to mind. It's always kind of fun. It's the post-Christmas hangover.
I feel like January to mid-March is just a slog. Every year. Yeah. Every year. I don't care what is happening. There's just, for me, it helps a little bit because my birthday's in there, but like that's still such a minor thing in the
and then just the month of May for teachers is it's just as busy as December, but and expensive because like you get invited to all these graduation parties that you have to give people gifts for.
Oh God!
But like, there's no treats. Nobody bakes in May. You don't get Christmas cookies in May, and you're supposed to be like getting your summer body all ready, so you can't be eating treats that you made yourself. So it's just not as cool. I prefer December.
I do too, and fall is also my favorite month or favorite season of the year, and it's been especially hot in Illinois this year. That's just me, but the humidity's been really bad.
Sorry.
So again, when I was a kid, summer was the best season of the year, but now as I'm getting older, I'm like, it's fall's where it's at. Give me sweater weather, give me a bonfire, give me s'mores, give me sitting outside on the patio in 60-degree weather. That is my ideal time.
And September is my birthday month.
Yes, see, it's just the best time of the year.
I celebrate for the whole month. Don't worry about it.
As you should. The weather's getting better for you. I mean, September's a great month.
It is.
So we kind of feel we're both in a spot where we can get this podcast back on its wheels, back rolling. So what better way to kick it off than talking about maps?
Let's do it. I love maps. I mean, all of my segments have to do with the map, so I'm just glad you're on board now.
Yeah, we are now on the map board here. I think, the mouse has died.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
Oh, there it goes. we're back. So, we have hit the exposition portion of the Silmarillion because we're kind of at a breaking point. So I'll give a quick recap of where we were. It's back in March. Give it a re-listen if you don't remember what happened, because this is me also just remembering off the top of my head. We have Morgoth, who is trapped in his little castle of Angband, because we have the first siege of Middle-earth, where we have the elves attacking an evil fortress. Up until this point, it's kind of been open field skirmishes between Morgoth and the elves, but we now have a full-on siege where the elves are building rams and siege towers and all that kind of such and sort. But this siege lasts several hundred years, so of course other things are going on. So it's a time of war, yes, but really how sieges work is basically the elves are just kind of camping outside of the fortress and just kind of waiting for Morgoth to either come attack or to kind of wave the white flag, or for them to kind of, it sounds dark, but for the orcs to get starved out. So they're kind of seeing what's going to happen here. But the orcs have their ways, Morgoth has his ways, and that's why the siege goes on for so long. I'll cover a portion of that in this chapter.
Okay.
I am going to cover a couple of chapters in this little segment today, because chapter 14 it's called the Beleriand and its Realms, aka maps. The next chapter kind of talks a little bit about the war, and then this chapter 16 is a rather dark chapter, actually. It's I'll give you a little sneak peek now. It's talking about an elf who was wed from a king and a dark elf. And
Born from?
Yes.
Okay.
What did I say?
Wed.
Nope. Born from. Thank you.
Okay.
Born from a high lord elf and a dark elf. And a dark elf, usually they're working for Morgoth, so it ain't good.
So have we learned about dark elves yet?
This is the first little doubts.
Okay.
So we'll go back. We'll pause for a second. So chapter 14 is going to be pretty quick. I encourage all of you to go check out our socials, because everything I'm going to talk about here, the map of this region, will be posted on there. So please go check that out at For the Love of Lore on Instagram. Hopefully I got that right.
It's For the Love of .lore.
There it is. I forgot the dot. So go check us out there. You'll see the map on there and kind of follow along a little bit. But what this chapter really does is it provides the map of Middle-earth during the First Age, because as I'll discuss here in a second, the map of Middle-earth changes quite drastically. And it's actually got some connections in what happens to it later in the Second Age and the Third Age. So you'll hear about that.
Okay.
We're going to be mainly focusing on Beleriand, because that's where all the elves are right now, and there's really not much else going on in the rest of Middle-earth. Chapter 17 is where it picks up in the rest of Middle-earth, and we'll have some more factions and some more races coming to join the big fight. But for now, we're going to focus on the northwest region of Middle-earth called Beleriand. So to describe how Beleriand looks, it's basically the Shire. It's very green. It's very vast. It's hilly. There's fertile soil. There's a lot of crops. There's some mountains, but for the most part, it's just pretty hilly, and it's picturesque.
Okay.
It also introduces a lot of the regions and realms that are going to be integral to the rest of this portion of the story in the Silmarillion. Mainly talking about the Beleriand elves and kind of the first great kingdom in Beleriand, and we will cover that right here. So, Beleriand is home to elves, but there are actually a lot of men here at this time. Remember, they have just woken up. They're kind of discovering what everything is. Some elves are helping them. Some elves are telling them to go away because they're a little jelly, because the gods kind of favor men a little bit. That's a whole thing we'll get into. But it is a land of extraordinary beauty. They are very rich in resources. They're also finding a lot more mithril that the dwarves also discovered, and that's what they make their weapons out of. But there's also a very dark part of Beleriand that, of course, our boy Morgoth is scheming. Mm-hmm. So now that the elves have kind of lost their harmony, their music that kind of connects them ever since the first kinslaying. Love that phrase.
Mm-hmm. Finn?
Fingolfin and Fëanor.
Fëanor.
So Fëanor is the one who kind of kinslayed and fled, but he's the guy who made the Silmarils. He's obsessed with them.
Yeah.
But it's obviously driving him to a bit of madness.
But then he got killed.
Yes, so Fëanor has turned to dust, and now his sons are kind of ruling in his stead. And you'll see his sons also kind of have some issues because of Fëanor made this major pact of like the Silmarils will influence the race of elves for the rest of time.
Yeah, he like spoke it into
Yes,
the universe.
but like, why would you say that? Is my question. Like, obviously that's not going to be good, but that's just me. So right now, where we're sitting, Fëanor. So if you look at your maps, you will see the region of Doriath, and this is ruled by Thingol. And I told you in the last episode he will play a major factor going forward. He will be kind of one of the main characters going forward, and he is ruling with his love Melian.
Oh, the girdle! I forgot.
Yes, and there is the famous, infamous girdle of Melian.
Yeah.
I don't know why he uses the word girdle so much. I don't understand it, but it was a different time, I guess.
I guess maybe it just meant like the middle.
Yeah, it must. But the girdle, it's described as in the books as an invisible barrier. It's kind of what the rings of power do for Galadriel and Elrond in them in the late second to third age. It's a barrier that protects their lands from like the orcs can't get in. No beast can get in, anything like that. It's hinted that part of this power was possibly, this is all fan theory because this chapter in particular was edited by Christopher Tolkien, so he's just kind of pulling notes from his dad about what really happened here. But it's rumored that this barrier is actually just a barrier of Ents who don't let anybody in.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Those are my faves.
So that this could be talking about origin events, but there's also a major chapter talking about the origin events as well that is coming up later. So take it as you will, but basically he just describes it as a barrier from evil things getting into his kingdom. So the Doriath, there is a time of great expanse. They are building, they are learning, they are growing in power and number, and Thingol is at the head, who is basically like what Fëanor should have been in terms of a leader and in terms of a person with morals.
Okay.
And then we have Gondolin. I don't have many notes about Gondolin because I don't want to give too much away, but it is the most important region going forward. Gondolin is kind of the hub of life, of trade, of power, of beauty. So a little connection to Lord of the Rings here. Everybody knows Minas Tirith. It's from the third movie. It's the big white. It's called the White City. The building of Minas Tirith was actually modeled after the city of Gondolin because Gondolin is so pretty, and it's also kind of built into like a little mountainside, and it's built out of that white stone, so it kind of shines in the sun type thing. But at first, Gondolin was of course every city starts small. It was started by a man or an elf named Turgon. Love that name. I don't know why. And at first, it's a hidden city because he didn't want Morgoth to know about it. He wanted to kind of coalesce his Noldor elves and make a kind of a bit of a power there. And also he wanted to start working with men, which was a little taboo back then. So we will see in the future, Gondolin will actually come under the rule of men at some point. Mm-hmm. So this is just kind of a little nod towards that. But of course, that will not go over swimmingly with some of the elves. So, and then three minor regions coming up now is Nargothrond. I only brought this up because this is ruled by Finrod, who is that is the brother of Galadriel.
Okay.
This kingdom will play a critical role in the battle against Morgoth. It's going to be kind of like the classic they'll come to save the day type thing. You'll see. Then there's Hithlum. This is a northern realm. And I have this in here because it's really close to Morgoth's castle of Angband, and it will become very influential. But the other nod is there's another book called The Children of Húrin. It's a fun read. It's very short for Tolkien, which is shocking, but a fun little read about Húrin and his children who go on a little adventure and fight against Morgoth and his evil. Check it out. But they are from Hithlum, so a fun little connection there. And then we have Thangaradrim and Angband. So these two, Thangaradrim is basically, it's the most sinister sounding thing I've ever heard in my life. So Angband is Morgoth's castle. Sorry, it's Melkor too. He has two names.
Same guy.
Many names.
Yeah.
Angband is Morgoth's big castle. But the reason it's also so hard to besiege, but the elves are trying to right now, is that there is 3 massive mountainous volcanoes in the way, and they are collectively called Thangaradrim.
Oh, okay.
So if you think about it, there's literally just an evil castle sitting on top, and below it there are 3 very active volcanoes constantly going off right below it. So it's just like classic, like bad guy castle. So
like Bowser saying,
yeah, exactly. It's literally what I think of. It literally looks like that. So like I said, this besiegement of Angband has lasted several hundred years, and the elves just kind of think, oh, Morgoth is just kind of sitting in there. He's not doing much. He's panicking. Like we've got him in a corner. But we know that's not how that goes with Morgoth. He's always scheming. He's always looking one step ahead. And what he's doing right now is, while he has the elves kind of lulled into a sense of false security, he is building massive underground tunnels under Middle Earth. And he's kind of building himself a second city underneath there. And one of these tunnels leads to a very large gate where he decides to reside for his safety. And he keeps his greatest generals there, Sauron being one of them. They all kind of reside in there. That's where they plot and they scheme. They start trying to figure out how they're going to break out of this little besiegement of their powerful city. And I think even more funny and kind of cool is that these tunnels are called the Hells of Iron. So you don't want to be going in the Hells of Iron, I'll tell you that.
Not me.
And then, of course, in Tolkien fashion, he goes on to talk about how even though these tunnels are consumed by volcano and ash and all that, he then goes into plants. Of course, he loves to talk about plants.
Oh, okay.
He literally has 2 pages writing about how plants are still thriving down in the Hells of Iron.
Okay.
And I think, for me, I wrote this as, like, he's writing about this because it's a sign of, like, there is always hope. There's always still, even though it looks like hell, literally, there is still life there. There's still chance for hope and things to flourish. So I think that's kind of his message with everything.
Okay.
Because he talks about how even though Thangaradrim is always spewing lava, molten lava, the grasses of northern Beleriand still find their way into his kingdoms. Like, I think that's just kind of his way of saying, like, there's hope.
And could it, I wonder, I don't know, obviously, and you probably don't either, but I just, because he fought in World War I, right? Which was a trench war. Everybody was in trenches.
Yes.
So I wonder if, because I'm sure there was still plants, like you could still see like the roots and like bugs and
the weeds were probably growing up too and all that. So I think, yes,
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful connection.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all of chapter 14. There are some, you can look up some more things. It gets very wordy and there's a lot. Again, I tend to skip some names and some things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of the story. But there are some more fun little tidbits about some smaller stories. You do learn about the birth of Hurin. You do learn about more about Turgon building gondolins. There's some cool facts in there that I don't have the time to kind of cover. But they're fun. Give it a read. Chapter 14. If you want to learn more about just the creation of Middle Earth, give it a look-see. So now we kind of move on to chapter 15. It is called Of the Noldor and Beleriand. And this story kind of, it's almost like a recap a little bit because it picks up on the Noldor story after the rebellion. It's kind of, I think it's more of just a rehash of everything that's happened and then kind of talking about what they're going through with this besiegement of Morgoth and like how they're trying so hard to reclaim their Silmarils. So I kind of just laid out into a few key points that I got from this chapter. Because again, we go down some paths that I feel like we don't need to go down. So again, as I said earlier, the Noldor right now, this is point number 1. The Noldor are led by Feanor's sons. He has 7 of them. I don't remember all their names. I didn't write them down because they are actually minor characters in what's going to happen going forward. But they do establish themselves in Beleriand. And the 7 sons kind of split up, and they're all, some of them are in Nargothrond, some of them are in Hithlum, and some are in Doriath. Their relationship is a little frayed because half of his sons think that they should keep pursuing the Silmarils, and the other half kind of think like we need to leave those things in the past and focus on expanding our empire type thing.
Give it up.
Yes, give it up. It's not worth the chase. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth fighting amongst each other for. So it really kind of dives into their relationship in this chapter, and you kind of start to see once again the fractures in the elven race, because now, of course, the masses of the elves, some side with one side of his sons and some side with the other. So we're already starting to kind of see that division. And this is once again exactly what Morgoth wants.
Yep.
And why he's okay with besiegement lasting so long, because he knows, like, yeah, for the first 100 years they'll be steadfast, but after that he has seen the cracks before, and he knows that Fëanor made that promise about the Silmarils being tied into his family's fate. So the Noldor are kind of in constant strife. They're dealing with the betrayals and the after effects of Fëanor's oath, and the division really begins to pick up here, and it is intense. There is more kinslaying. There is more. At one point, Doriath is shut off to the rest of the world because Thingol is all high and mighty about his Silmarils, and he doesn't want to deal with them. So there's even a point where they get shut off, and there's just a lot of back and forth. They usually come back around and rally around each other once again, but the fractures are still becoming pretty heavy. So at this point, I'll do kind of a quick recap of what happens here with Sauron's forces, or not Sauron, with Morgoth's forces. We have now reached a point, I think we're about 300 years into this siege. He says, the tunnels are complete, my new kingdom is complete down here. I want to start trying to go back out and fight them, because he hears about the fractures. So we have now kind of more, some skirmishes. It's no big siege battle at Angband, but there are some more minor field skirmishes here. And the first couple go the elves' way, but then as they start to lose more and more numbers, they actually start to lose some battles and they get pushed back. And this is worrisome for the elves because they thought they were so steadfast. And now I was talking about the kingdom of Hithlum, who is in the northern region. We've now reached the point where they have fallen back to Hithlum, which kind of means the siege is almost at an end, because the orcs are no longer trapped inside the city. They can kind of explore, go hunting, find some more food, and it's kind of at the detriment of the elves. So I have a little fun fact here, just a little connection. So Finrod, above, is one of the most notable elves in this chapter, and he is actually really good friends with Beren. If that sounds familiar to some of you, I won't tell you. You'll know why immediately, but for those of you who don't know, Beren is one of the main characters in one of the greatest stories of Silmarillion. It's Beren and Luthien. So Beren and Luthien is talking about the love and relationship of an elf maiden and a mortal man. And it even comes down to where they deal and fight Morgoth himself. There's a tragic thing that happens that we'll talk about later. But the reason I want to bring this up is Finrod is Beren's best friend. And Beren and Luthien's connection is that Beren and Luthien is a song that Aragorn always sings to himself when they are on their little adventure towards Mordor. He always sings it to himself because it reminds him of Arwen.
Okay.
Because they are also, of course, a mortal man and an elf maiden.
Okay.
So that's a little fun connection here with Finrod. I actually think that's the same thing. So chapter 15 is rather quick. It just is kind of talking about the deterioration of the Noldor elves once again. They are very much struggling and the fractures are there. And then we get to chapter 16 where the fractures really start to take place centered around one person. And that one person is Maeglin. So poor Maeglin. I feel bad for them. It's a pretty tragic story. And this story really kind of focuses on him. And it's kind of an encompassing of everything that's happening with the elves right now. And unfortunately, Maeglin will find themselves at the center of all of it. And some no bueno things happen. So kind of a quick recap of what happens in this chapter. Maeglin is the son of Eredel, the sister of Turgon, who is the king of Gondolin, so a high prince. And Eol, a dark elf and a secretive elf of the dark woods of Non-Elmoth. So Non-Elmoth is just a little bit south of Angband. So as the orcs start to expand past Angband, they kind of take these woods for themselves. They'll hunt here, they'll forage here, And this is kind of where...
Is it near Hithlum?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is kind of where the dark elves of Hithlum will kind of escape to talk to Morgoth and his generals. So, Maeglan is born to these two elves, and it is steeped in just pure tragedy, and it kind of sets the stage for the dark things that will unfold, especially in Gondolin. So, Maeglan is in Gondolin at the time, and there comes a night where everything kind of comes to a head, talking about how his mother is kind of caught red-handed about helping the orcs and talking with Morgoth and promising Morgoth that he will rule the earth. And it comes to a head where his father at first just banishes Maeglan's mother, but then kind of takes things to the extreme and actually beheads her right in front of Maeglan. So as you could assume, that's pretty dramatic for a kid. So he sees all this go down. They didn't know he was watching type thing, but he sees it all goes down and kind of runs away. So he decides to run to Turgon, again, who is the King of Gondolin, and kind of resides with him just to get away from his family because he can't handle it and he wants to go down a better path. And then Maeglan does some weird stuff. He falls in love with his cousin. Ew.
Yeah.
His cousin's name is Idril. And it's hard because Maeglan has been through a lot, but it does not excuse the fact that he becomes obsessed and unrequited with Idril, to a point where it's creepy. So because of this obsession, the elves reject him, Maeglan as a person, also claim he's a dark elf, and kind of banish him as well. And he eventually betrays all of Gondolin, all of the elves. Mm-hmm. So as his bitterness and his obsession for Idril grows, and how he hates the elves for banishing him and they don't take him in after everything he's been through, he goes to Morgoth and kind of tells him all the secrets of the great city of Gondolin. Because at this point, again, I told you...
it's hidden.
Yes, it was hidden. And at this point, we have walls were erected. It's a very large city. They're mining mithril. They got all the resources they need. They are growing in power, but it's not quite ready yet. Where it's the walls aren't fully done yet, and there's some underground secret tunnels that they're using to transport some certain goods. And Maeglan goes to Morgoth and tells him about all of the weaknesses of Gondolin and basically how to attack it. So that's obviously the greatest betrayal. Kinslaying is tough, don't get me wrong. But basically telling Morgoth how to kill and destroy a city of tens of thousands of elves is not good. So I think you can kind of see where this is going. The elves are a little bit on edge because they've been pushed back. They got Hithlum sitting up there kind of undefended, and now they have Gondolin, who they don't know, but its defenses have been outed. And if any attack were to occur, they would be in great peril. So that kind of just sets the stage with these few chapters. I have a little fun fact. Maeglan is kind of matched with the character of Gollum, especially kind of in terms with obsession and betrayal, because in the book, Maeglan actually calls his cousin his precious. And I was like, that does not feel like a coincidence.
Nope.
So people kind of think that Maeglan's love for Idril mirrors Gollum's obsession for the One Ring. So if you have any idea of how creepy Maeglan really is, just think of how obsessed Gollum is with the ring, and that's how Maeglan is with his cousin. So that makes it really, really weird.
Yeah.
But this is kind of the overarching theme of Tolkien's, is that obsession with something always leads to your moral decay, almost, of you'll give up anything for that one thing, and everything you let go of or anything that gets in the way you push out of, it's going to come back to bite you. So that's kind of where things are at with our story. We have Gondolin on the brink. We have Hithlum on the brink. We have the elves who are fighting amongst themselves about what they should do with these Silmarils, and we have several leaders who are trying to once again kind of take the throne of the elves between all of Feanor's sons. We are approaching another dark time, and like I don't want to make it seem like the elves are always in a dark time, because like I said, between some of these events, hundreds of years pass of peace and tranquility and growth. But of course, Tolkien doesn't write much about what happens at that time, because it's a time of peace and prosperity. So we are just now kind of barreling back towards a time of war and despair. And
I think since they're immortal, it can seem like this stuff is happening in rapid succession, because maybe to them it looks that way, but that's because they're 100 years to them is nothing.
Yes.
Whereas it is to, I don't know.
No, it's completely right. It's completely how it is. So, my last kind of note is, again, this is all happening in Beleriand. And if you look at a map of Middle-earth, you will see that Beleriand is nowhere on the map, and that is because, this is a little hint of what happens in the future, it is no longer there. It currently, if you pull up a map of the Shire right now, you'll see the Grey Havens are on the northwest coast. It's kind of squeezed between some mountains. There should technically be a lot more land to the west of the Grey Havens than those mountains, but it is not there. So, a little hint of what happens forward. If you're looking at a map of Middle-earth, and you're like, where the heck is Beleriand? You do need to pull up the map that we're gonna post on our socials, so you can see what Middle-earth really should be, because there should be a lot more land.
Okay. Sounds Children of the Foresty.
Yes. So these next few chapters will be a lot of fun, and pretty soon we will meet Beren and Luthien. That'll be a really fun story to tell. So stay tuned for that. But that is everything that's going on in Middle-earth right now.
Well, hot diggity.
We are so back.
We are back.
A lot of maps. Pull up a map, look at the regions, and you'll see one of the ones I'm going to post. We're going to have Abby post for you guys. It actually shows Beleriand. It actually shows all of the troop movements and the general movements of what's happening with the orcs and the elves. Where the orcs are pushing out through, where the elves are kind of making their little barrier. It's cool.
Okay.
So check that on our socials, and you'll kind of see what's going on in Beleriand.
Can't wait.
But we're back, and now I think we need to return to another land.
We do. Are we jumping in?
I think we just jump in.
Okay. All right.
I'm passing the torch.
Okay, perf. Here we go. Buckle up.
I'm strapped in.
Well, Westerosi adventurers, I hope you packed your hurricane shutters today, because we've arrived in the Stormlands, where great gales blow in from the narrow sea and crash into the shores in a never-ending quest to knock down every castle wall in their way. These storms occur all times of the year, but they are said to be at their worst during autumn, which I think is only interesting because we live in the Midwest, and so we don't have hurricanes usually. Sometimes we get like the rain from hurricanes, but usually not. But we have tornadoes, and a lot of people associate that with springtime, but what people sometimes forget is that fall is also tornado season.
Yes.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, that autumn is when the hurricanes are the worst. But so for this reason, because there's so many storms all the time blowing in, bastards born in this region take the last name Storm. Super original. No, not as cool as like Snow or Jon Snow. So yeah, just if you come across a character whose last name is Storm, they were born in the Stormlands.
I still kind of like that last name though. Jon Storm. That sounds like a superhero though.
It is an X-lady, X-man,
that's right.
X-man lady.
That's right.
So it is a relatively small region of the Seven Kingdoms. It is a properly acknowledged kingdom of the Seven Kingdoms, unlike the Iron Islands that we talked about way back when. But it was originally called the Kingdom of the Storm when it was first settled, and back then it was a lot larger than it currently is. But I'm going to give you a quick rundown of its current borders. So currently, its eastern border is the Narrow Sea. So they've got a lot of coastline. There's this like bay called Shipbreaker Bay that runs right up to the coast. And then there's two islands further out at sea. Those two islands are Tarth and Estermont. You've probably heard of Tarth.
Brienne.
Brienne of Tarth. So Tarth is the larger of those two islands, and it's almost directly east of Storm's End. It's got it's a really pretty island. It's got a lot of waterfalls, lakes, mountains. It houses the Baratheon naval fleet on its western side, the island's western side, just because that kind of shields all of the ships from the storms. And it's ruled by House Tarth. Whoever is currently like the head of House Tarth calls themselves the Even Star, which is interesting and fun, and we love a nickname. And many people refer to this place as the Sapphire Isle. It kind of sounds like the Vale to me, with like the mountains and the waterfalls and stuff. Similar landscapes, I would guess. And then the House Tarth's castle is, because the ruler calls himself the Even Star, and their castle is called Evenfall Hall.
So fun fact, really quick interjection.
Okay.
Even Star.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Lord of the Ring connection, actually.
I thought maybe.
Even Star is the name of the necklace that Arwen gives to Aragorn that he wears in all the movies. It's that like
okay, the little angel-y
silver
looking
star, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because that is like Arwen's star, her guardian, is the Even Star.
Oh.
Yes, fun fact.
Would you look at that?
The more you know.
The more you know. So yeah, that's fun. Little connection. And the Tarths. This is where our girl Brienne of Tarth comes from.
Yes,
she was
queen.
born and raised here. She is a queen. We love her. They are of Andal descent, but they also have some ties to House Durrandon, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. Which means they also have ties to House Baratheon and House Targaryen. So you're going to see in just a hot second how all three of those houses are connected. But moving over to the other island, it's called Estermont. It is the smaller island. It's not as much as known about it. It's ruled by House Estermont. They live in this little town called Greenstone. We don't know a ton about their history, but their family and their home do get a few shout outs in the Game of Thrones books. Like Robert Baratheon's mother is an Estermont. And then shortly after he becomes king, him and Cersei visit so they were like freshly married, newlyweds. They visit the island of Estermont, but while they're here, Cersei catches him cheating on her with his cousin.
Oh.
There's a lot of cousin stuff today.
Yeah, there's an unfortunate cousin theme today.
Yuck. So to get back at him, she naturally sleeps with her brother Jaime.
Ah, yes.
And
that is wow. Gotcha.
A lot of incest. But that she suspects, her and Jaime both suspect that is the night that Joffrey was conceived. So do with that information what you will, but personally makes me not ever want to visit Estermont.
No.
So yeah, let's move on. The Stormlands' southern border is the Sea of Dorne, so they have even more coastline, but this is more kind of like the Gulf of Mexico type sea. And it's the southernmost tip of land that kind of juts out into the Sea of Dorne is called the Cape of Wrath.
Oh,
which sounds
it does.
Baller.
We like the Hells of Iron and the Cape of Wrath.
Cape of Wrath, yeah. Traveling inland from the Cape of Wrath, this is, I think, my favorite part of the Stormlands. There's this really, really dense forest called the Rainwood. And the Rainwood does get quite a few shout outs in the books as well. There's a few people that kind of travel through there or talk about it. But this is where the children of the forest and the giants resided in the largest quantities during the Dawn Age. So they're kind of old and like maybe haunted. I don't know. They have that old foresty.
The spoopy vibe.
Yeah. Yes. There are still lots of werewoods to be found in the Rainwood. It's a quiet, fertile land with lots of crooked walking trails, not really any real roads, caves, caverns, homes that are built straight into the wilderness that look kind of, that reminds me a little bit of like Tom Bombadil and his, yeah. And then, again, I even wrote it in the script. Look at here. It reminds me also of the Ent Forest in Lord of the Rings.
Fangorn Forest.
Yeah. Does remind me of that.
Yeah, because it's got that eerie, like there's vines hanging from the trees, and it's got like almost like a mist to it inside. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of different than all the rest of the Stormlands. So let's scooch on over to the western border that butts up to both Dorne and the Reach. On the Dornish side, there's the Red Mountains, which are dry, sandy, and incredibly hard to navigate. And then if you go further into the Stormlands, not towards Dorne, it turns from dry mountains to these areas known as the Marches. They're these big open plains or like prairies. And the men who live here have a reputation of being both physically and mentally strong, battle-hardened, and excellent longbow archers. There are some kind of recognizable families or names from the Marches. There's House Swan.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. They're from Stonehelm. It's a town in the Marches. Balin Swan is a member of Joffrey's Kingsguard. He's one of the 7 guardians. So he's like, a good swordsman.
Okay, I said we needed a Swanson. We need a Balin Swanson now.
Balin's, yeah. And then House Dondarrion is from Blackhaven. Beric Dondarrion is the guy who follows the Lord of the Light and his sword can catch fire,
Yep.
That's that guy. So his house where he's from is also from the Marches. He's in that group called the Brotherhood Without Banners that Arya kind of joins up with along her story arc. So that's that. And then there's also House Selmy. They're from Harvest Hall. And then Barristan Selmy is the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard when for I think Robert Baratheon, but then when Joffrey takes over for him, he's also Joffrey's Lord Commander of the Kingsguard until Joffrey kind of like fires him. And then Barristan Selmy, in the show, like he famously like drops his armor and kind of throws it, and then he goes across the narrow sea to find Daenerys and help her out. So yeah, 3 kind of big houses from the Marches. There's this other house called House Car. I don't know if it's Karen or Karen. They're from this place.
It's Karen.
Night Song.
Oh no, it's a wild Karen.
Oh goodness. Alrighty. So then last up is their northern border, which is currently, as it currently stands, it's this river called the Wendwater and the edge of the Kingswood. This is the spot or the place, I guess, where the Stormlands used to be a lot bigger. They used to kind of stretch all the way up through the Kingswood, right up to a peninsula called Massey's Hook, and which Massey's Hook is right below King's Landing. So the Stormlands used to encompass all of that, basically right up to where King's Landing is now, which hadn't been founded yet. And at that time, when it was that big, House Durrandon was the ruling family. So let's meet them.
Let's do it.
So if you recall from way back when we did this before, there was the pact between the Children of the Forest and the First Men. We've talked about it a lot. But shortly after that happened, so we're back in that time frame, there was this guy named Durin Godsgrief. He fell in love with a goddess named Elenay, and there's not usually a lot of like goddesses or anything in Game of Thrones, so that I don't really 100% know what he means by this, but he calls her a goddess, and he says she was the daughter of the sea god and the goddess of the wind, and she's immortal. So maybe it's kind of similar to like an elf and a man.
Yeah, gotta be.
So upon deciding to marry him, her parents become super mad. They get real mad at her. They revoke her immortality, and they send down a bunch of howling wind, lashing rains, and fierce storms to try to destroy every castle that Durin Godsgrief tried to build. That's why he gets his last name, because he caused the gods some grief.
Man, there's the gods in both of our worlds just like to drown things, and they're not happy.
Yeah.
Huh.
So they were successful at destroying all of Durin's castles until this young boy devised a plan for a castle that could withstand all of the wind and rain. This castle, to this day, has held up against every storm that has crashed into that area since that time. So, and that young boy supposedly was Brandon the Builder.
Yeah,
you guessed it. Can he build it?
Yes, he can.
But I have a lot of questions because, like, George specifically says, like, it's hinted that this was Brandon the Builder, blah, blah, blah. So my side quest question is he not a Stark? I thought he was.
Yeah, wait. I didn't realize the retcon that's happening here. Why was he in the Stormlands when he was a young boy?
or is this just proof that there was more than one Brandon the Builder?
I see. Is Brandon the Builder more of a? I see what you're saying. Just a common.
Just a catch-all.
Yeah.
For like a bunch of really smart people. Because also Brandon the Builder also built parts of Winterfell and the Wall.
Right. That's
The
what I
whole
was
wall.
thinking of.
Yeah. So who knows?
I
But
wonder if it's a collection of people.
somebody at some point did some science and figured out how to build a castle that could withstand hurricanes.
That's pretty dang good.
And it still works today. That's still where they live today. So that castle was called Storm's End. So maesters have since come and studied the construction of Storm's End. It's built on top of this place called Durin's Hill. So it's named after Durin, God's grief. They've studied it a ton. They have concluded that it is indeed a very old castle, but they cannot match it to the same time period of construction as the oldest parts of Winterfell or the Wall. Both of those are supposedly considerably older. So I think it just further proves that the theory that Brandon the Builder is a mythical kind of creation, not a real person, or was several people whose myths all got intertwined. I'm not really sure, but
yep.
But the studies that the Maesters did also revealed that Storm's End is the most soundly constructed castle in all of Westeros.
Dang.
So this is what has helped it to, last through all these storms. The reason is that the stones on the outer walls are hewn in a way that they fit together seamlessly. So the wind literally can't find a single crack or crevice to grip onto.
Dang.
It just kind of like blows right over it. Some people say there's magic woven into the stones that keeps them interlocked together that way. And this is also kind of supposedly what prevents any magic or like dark figures from entering into the castle. You kind of see this play out a little bit when, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting her name? Stannis and the girl, they have that like dark baby.
Yep.
Why am I forgetting her name?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
It starts with an M. It'll come to me when I don't need it to come to me. Anyway, they have that, they get it on the painted table with the, like the map table. And then she has this like creature come out of her. I don't know. Anyway, supposedly there's magic built into the walls of Storm's End that prevent stuff like that from getting in. So anyway, Melisandre. That's her name.
Melisandre.
There it
nice,
is.
Nice.
I knew it started with an M. Okay. So this castle, it's also kind of different from most of the other castles. Well, pretty much every other castle in Westeros. It doesn't have like a whole ton of towers like most of them do. It really just has one central tower in the middle. They say it looks kind of like a fist. And then a bunch of outer walls. The thickest wall is like 80 feet thick in some portions. And then the tower itself is right at the center. And inside of the tower is all of the other stuff that you would normally find like has their own buildings in other castles. But it's got like the granary, the barracks, the armory, the feast hall, all that stuff. The main hall of the castle is called the Round Hall. You do get to see the Round Hall at the end of the House of the Dragon Season 1. Like when poor little Lucerys, he goes to visit. Yeah. So, and we're going to talk about that specific scene a couple times today. So that is the Round Hall, just so you know. Keep that in mind.
I actually don't think I ever connected that.
Mm-hmm. And as with storms, this castle has also never fallen to a siege, interestingly.
I mean, if a wall is 80 feet thick, I get that.
That's about all we have as far as a description of the castle. So we're just going to move on and talk about the House Durandon. So back to this Durin God's grief. He builds this castle. It's strong enough to withstand the winds. And he continues to rule from Storm's End for 1,000 years, maybe. Or maybe
Wait, you're saying this one guy lived for 1,000 years?
Supposedly. But I think what probably really happened, the Maesters say, is that he just kept, like, he named his son after himself and so on and so on.
Yep.
So his descendants developed this habit of naming every firstborn male after Durin God's grief. So I think it's actually just not one guy ruling for 1,000 years. It's actually a bunch of descendants that are all named the same thing.
That tracks.
So they refer to themselves as the Storm Kings, and they were actually the ones who decided to use a stag for their sigil. And their house words were, "Ours is the fury." House. I just lisped for a second. Sorry. House Baratheon later adopts both this sigil and these words as their own.
I was just going to say, I thought that was Baratheon's thing.
Well, they just kind of like...
They could have done a stag. Like, you live in a land of storms, you could have done like a lightning bolt or something, man. Come on.
Yeah. The Durrandons warred on and off with the Children of the Forest and amongst themselves over the centuries. And the borders of the Stormlands were always kind of like ebbing and flowing. And then that takes us right up to the Andal invasion. So remember, the Durrandons are first men. The Andals haven't gotten here yet, but here they come in all their seven-pointed glory. So Eric Durrandon the Seventh was the Storm King when the Andals first started to venture into the Stormlands. Now he's known as Eric the Unready because he thought it was no big deal and he kind of pretended it wasn't happening. And it didn't necessarily affect his rule directly because his grandson was the first Storm King to actually face the Andals in battle. But he kind of like opened the floodgates. It just was that the effects of the flood weren't noticeable until a couple of generations later. But once they started landing their ships here, they just kind of kept on coming. The Storm Kings were able to hold them off in a few key battles, but the legend says that for every Andal they killed, 5 more landed on their shores. So it started with Tarth and then Estermont and then Massey's Hook. The Andals conquered the Stormlands slowly but surely. The one place they could never conquer was Storm's End. It is said they laid siege 7 times and failed 7 times, and being the faith of the 7, they took this to heart. If they failed all 7 times, then that, because, 7's their favorite number.
They love the 7s.
So then they were like, oh, the gods are saying we're not meant to conquer this castle, so we better move on.
Might as well just give up.
So instead, the 2 sides ultimately came together and kind of made this truce. The reigning Durrandon king and his son both took an Andal wife, and then many of the Andal war chiefs and lords married the daughters of the Storm Lords. So eventually the Storm Kings put aside their old gods and adopted the faith of the 7, and it was about this point that it became impossible to tell who was of which descent, because everyone was pretty much 50-50 First Men and Andal. So finally we arrive at the last Storm King and the undoing of House Durrandon. This was King Argilac, known as Argilac the Arrogant.
That is not a king title that you want.
Don't be arrogant, friends.
No.
He was alive at the same time as Harren the Black, who, if you remember, he was the one that commissioned the construction of Harrenhal. So we're at about that time period. Harrenhal is not terribly far from the Stormlands, and Argilac starts wanting kind of a buffer between his lands and the lands held by Black Harren. He proposes this deal to Aegon the Conqueror. He says, here, you can have the hand of my daughter Argella and some dowry lands, which turns out were the lands that were currently being held by Black Harren that used to be held by the Durrandons but weren't anymore. So Aegon didn't like that. He said, no, bro. My best friend, Oris Baratheon, wants her hand in marriage, but also give me your own actual lands as a dowry, not the Black Harren's lands. Argilac was real heated about that. Super offended. Cut off the hands of the messenger. You don't hurt the messenger.
The messenger always, I would never take that job.
Rule 101. Don't shoot the messenger.
I think rule number 1 is you don't become the messenger for a king.
Yeah,
Good stuff never happens to them.
Yeah, so cuts off the hands, literally cuts off his hands, sends them back to Aegon the Conqueror in a box with the message, these are the only hands you'll ever get from me.
My goodness.
Like, this bro has a dragon. You can't just provoke.
Yeah.
Don't poke the dragon.
I mean, he is called the Arrogant, so.
Ay. So, as they say, don't poke the dragon or the bear.
Yeah, there's a good one.
Aegon promptly calls his banners, begins devising a plan to get back at Argilac, blows up into Aegon deciding he's going to begin his conquest. Like, this was literally the spark for Aegon's conquest.
Oh my God, it's all his fault.
Yeah.
Argilac, my man.
Argilac. After talking to his bannermen, he sends ravens to all 7 kingdoms, stating there will only be one king in Westeros from here on out. Bend the knee and you'll be saved, or burn.
Oh, I'll be saved.
Bend the knee.
I will bend the knee.
At this same time, he proclaims House Baratheon the Hand of the King and sends him to Storm's End with his sister wife. You know how Aegon has sister wives?
Yep.
2 of them. He sends him with his sister Rhaenys to deal with Argilac. And Rhaenys is the nicer one of the 2. They're both pretty fierce, but Visenya is kind of the more like cold-hearted one. Rhaenys is the nicer one.
These become dragon names eventually, correct?
No. I don't think so.
Okay. Disregard me.
So by now, Black Heron had burned inside the walls of his supposedly impregnable fortress. Argilac didn't want to have the same fate, so he marches out to meet Orys and Rhaenys in battle. They outnumber the Targaryen forces. The Durrandons outnumber them. But Rhaenys has her dragon, Meraxes, and she's able to kind of end the battle pretty quickly. And then Orys and Argilac meet face to face in battle, and Orys kills him. So as a reward, Aegon gives Orys all of the Durrandon lands, the hand of Argella, the daughter, and allows Orys to adopt the sigil and the words of Astrid.
There it is.
So boom, House Baratheon enters the chat.
Now, because before I was like, why would Baratheon just steal their sigil and their what's it called? Their words.
Yeah.
But now it makes sense because he literally just conquered them.
Yeah, and he's the reason the whole conquering thing started. So
yeah, he done messed up.
Yeah, it's fine, I suppose. So House Baratheon, literally, this is how they start with our boy Orys, who had always been super tight with Aegon the Conqueror. He was his champion and sworn shield, which kind of means like rather than sending Aegon into like a duel, like a one-on-one duel, he would send his champion. And he was a pretty formidable warrior in his own right. There were always rumors, some of which are still believed today in present day Game of Thrones, that Orys is Aegon's bastard-born half-brother, which would mean he's also like Visenya and Rhaenys' half-brother as well, but that's never been proven. But it's highly likely. Once Aegon had conquered most of Westeros, he named Orys the Hand of the King, and Orys accepted, but then Aegon tried to invade Dorne, so Dorne was not conquered during Aegon the Conqueror's time. He actually only conquered 6 kingdoms. I don't know if you know
I did not know that, actually.
Dorne comes later on. So during this attempt, Orys gets taken captive by a Dornish knight named Will the Widow Lover.
Oh. Whoa.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Bold choice.
He cuts off Orys's sword hand, and Orys never really mentally recovers from that. He physically recovers, but not mentally. He resigns as Hand of the King, grows to be this bitter old man who is obsessed with revenge. He did eventually get his revenge on the son of Will the Widow Lover, but that wasn't until he was super old.
Oof.
So as the generations continue, House Baratheon remains pretty closely tied to House Targaryen by blood and by literal location. It's just a really short ride up the King's Road to get from Storm's End to King's Landing. So Orys's grandson, Rhaegar, marries the widowed Targaryen queen Alyssa. She was born a Velaryon, but is now like married a Targaryen. So she's 100% Valyrian blooded, whatever you want to call it. But comes from their kids, I guess, come from both Valyrian families, if that makes sense. So they have these 2 kids together, Boromund and Jocelyn.
Whoa.
These 2 are both pretty important. And we're about to do a deep dive on one of my all-time favorite characters, so buckle up. I know we've really only done one character deep dive so far, and that was on Tywin Lannister.
Yep.
Who is a kind of a villain. This one's she's an actual good person, so I'm glad to do a deep dive on a good character now.
Yes, there are not very many of those.
Yeah. So anyway, Boromund inherits Storm's End after Rhaegar dies. He's the great-grandson of Orys Baratheon. And then his son is Boros Baratheon. That's the guy in the Round Hall when we see the Round Hall. And he's like illiterate, like he gets the note from little Prince Lucerys, and he has to have his maester read it because he's illiterate. That's Boromin's son, Boros. And then, but interestingly, more interestingly than Boros, I think, is Lady Jocelyn. That's Boros's sister. Or no, sorry, Boromin's sister. Their names are all the same.
They're very similar.
Boromin's sister is Lady Jocelyn. My actual daughter's name is Jocelyn.
That's such a crazy connection.
I just really like this lady and her daughter. But so she ends up marrying the Targaryen Prince Aemon, who is the Lord of Dragonstone. Remember, the Lord of Dragonstone is always the person that's going to inherit the throne. Like the current sitting Targaryen king names I guess it's Prince of Dragonstone, not Lord of Dragonstone, Prince of Dragonstone. And that is basically he's saying, this is my heir. This is who I want the throne to go to when I die. So Lady Jocelyn marries that guy. So this is a big deal because Lady Jocelyn already has Baratheon blood, which kind of has Targaryen blood mixed in. She's also got Velaryon blood from her mother, which is still Valyrian. And then she marries a full-blooded Targaryen prince.
That's a lot of
the heir to the throne. Yeah, the heir to the Iron Throne. So their child, they only have one child, and it's a daughter. This child is super, super Targaryen and Valyrian from all sides of her family. And their daughter is named Princess Rhaenys, and she becomes known as the Queen Who Never Was.
Oh, yes.
Except she's my queen always.
Yes, I know her.
So, and she's heavily featured in House of the Dragon. In the show, we don't really get her backstory, and we don't really understand she's as connected to the Baratheons as she is. But that Lord Boros guy that's sitting in the Round Hall, that's illiterate, that's her first cousin. So we are going to take a quick little detour and give you some more Rhaenys lore, if you will allow, because she is one of my favorite characters of all time.
I think we're going to learn some things we did not see in the show.
Yeah, I think so.
If she's a super Targaryen, she's got some powerful blood.
Yeah. I think she's probably I would say my second favorite character, right behind Sansa. Sansa's my all-time favorite, but she's up there just because she's a baddie.
She is a baddie.
All right, so to start out, she was born on the 7th day of the 7th month, which, if you recall, is a super holy day. It's like an actual holy day.
So she's got all the good blood going for her, and she's born the 7th day of the 7th month.
Exactly.
Wow.
So pretty baller. Her father, Prince Aemon, was the oldest son of the current king, which is Old King Jaehaerys. And he had already been named the Prince of Dragonstone, and Rhaenys was his firstborn child. So already at her birth, most of the realm is considering her to be the next in line after her father. And her grandmother, Queen Alysanne, refers to baby Rhaenys as our queen to be.
Oh.
Yes. So she becomes a dragon rider at the young age of 13. That's pretty young for the Targaryens. It's usually not till their later teen years when they actually claim a dragon. But the dragon she claimed was Meleys, who the dragon herself has kind of some lore. So Meleys only had one dragon rider before Rhaenys, and that was Rhaenys' aunt, Alyssa. Alyssa was the sister wife of Balon Targaryen, both of whom are siblings to Rhaenys' dad, Aemon. They're all siblings, of course.
Of course.
But Alyssa is the mother of both Viserys and Daemon, the Viserys and Daemon, who eventually beat out Rhaenys as heir to the throne. She claims their mom's dragon when their mom dies.
Wow.
She dies giving birth to a third son, and then the baby dies shortly after, so that's why there's only ever Viserys and Daemon. But yeah, after she dies giving birth, Rhaenys hops up on there and is like, here we go.
This is my dragon now.
Yep. So, I don't know. I just think that makes her even cooler. She's already cool, but, she's like, I took your mom's dragon.
No big deal.
Be
mad about it.
Back to her. Once she's 15, she joins her grandpa, Old King Jaehaerys, on his royal progress that he's making throughout the realm. She joins him by flying Meleys to Highgarden, which is in the Reach, and then she flies with him and his dragon to the 4 Shield Islands off the coast of the Reach. The Reach is in our next episode, so we'll talk more about the Reach next time. But While they're on this royal progress, she tells her grandpa about her intention to marry Lord Corlys Velaryon, and he promptly gives his blessing. Her and Corlys get married a year later when she's 16. At their wedding, she rides Meleys straight up to the altar.
Oh my God, what a statement.
Yeah. I guess a couple people tried to talk her out of that, and she was like, nope, I'm doing it.
I love that.
Yep. And then when she's 18, she finds out she's pregnant. The realm is delighted. Everybody's very excited. But shortly after she finds out she's pregnant, tragedy strikes. And the repercussions of this tragedy ultimately results, if you look far enough, in the Dance of the Dragons several generations later.
Oh.
So Rhaenys' father, Aemon. So old King Jaehaerys is alive and well, kicking. And Rhaenys is pregnant. And everybody at this point in time thinks that Rhaenys' dad, Aemon, is next in line, and then Rhaenys, and then her child that she's pregnant with. But Aemon sails down to Tarth, so another Baratheon connection here, sails down to Tarth to help settle this Myrish occupation. Myr is like a city-state over in Essos, but some pirates from Myr are currently occupying the eastern half of Tarth. This little event is called the Myrish Bloodbath.
I'm going to assume it did not go well for the Myrish.
Didn't go well for anybody, really. Corlys Velaryon, so Rhaenys' husband, and his fleet are on their way, but they had not arrived yet. So Aemon gets there first because he flies by dragon rather than sailing. And he goes to meet with Lord Cameron Tarth at this small military camp that's hidden in the mountains on the island because Tarth has a lot of mountains. And Lord Tarth assures him, like, this camp is hidden. They haven't found it. They don't know, blah, blah, blah. Well, he spoke too soon. Some Myrish scouts had found the camp, and they were really trying to shoot arrows at Lord Tarth, but they miss Lord Tarth, and Prince Aemon is shot through his neck and dies almost instantly. So upon learning of his son's death, old King Jaehaerys quickly, kind of without thinking, kind of like instinctually, just names his son Baelon as his new heir, passing directly over Rhaenys and her unborn child. Rhaenys immediately and publicly, so loudly, rejects her grandfather's decision, as does her husband Corlys, her mother Lady Jocelyn, her uncle Lord Boromund, and even her grandmother, Queen Alysanne. They're all kind of mad at him for doing this.
Yeah, it's a bad decision.
Yeah. But King Jaehaerys sticks to that decision. Rhaenys gives birth to her daughter Laena that year, so it did turn out she was pregnant with a girl. But 2 years later, she gives birth to her son Laenor. And we meet both Laena and Laenor. You know them from if you've seen the show. Hopefully you've seen the show. So this is the point where things get real sticky real fast. The realm starts to question who should be King Jaehaerys' heir. When Laenor is 7 years old, Prince Balon dies. So even the guy that King Jaehaerys named has now died
too.
This is why he's called Old King Jaehaerys, because he's getting like real old. He's still alive, but real old. And this leaves him in a pickle again. So does he name his eldest son's eldest grandson his heir, which would be Laenor Velaryon, or his second son's oldest son, which was Viserys Targaryen? So to solve this, and then there was like 12 other people that laid claim to the throne too by blood, and it was a whole thing. So really there's 14 people trying to claim the throne, but it really came down to just those two. To solve this issue, Jaehaerys calls the Great Council of 101 at Harrenhal and allows the Lords of the Realm to vote on who they think should be the heir. And then this is the exact like cold open scene from season 1, episode 1 of House of the Dragon. Like this is the council that you see happening is over all this stuff. So tragically, we all know that Rhaenys and Laenor are passed over for Viserys, and we all know that this decision eventually leads to a dragon-infused civil war breaking out in Westeros, all because they didn't want a woman sitting on the Iron Throne.
Yeah, that's tough. It's like crazy because she's got all this great blood. She's born on like the perfect day. She's awesome as is, and this is what she gets.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. This is a character that I do think the show, and especially the actress Eve Best, they absolutely nail how much of a baddie she is. And I'm glad they did because she deserved it. I just think it helps to have more context of like why she is the way she is, you know?
Yeah.
But one of my favorite moments from the whole House of the Dragon show is when Alicent kind of traps her in that room. Almost like, well, you're not really trapped. Like, it's this really nice room that we're giving you. And she's like, yeah, but you're not letting me leave. And she whispers to Alicent, she's like, have you never pictured yourself on the Iron Throne? Like, it's a good line. Because you know she has, like, every day.
Well, I think all this backstory helps too, why she helps Rhaenyra so much.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it would have been nice to see. Because they talk about her being the queen who never was, but they don't really show. Maybe I just need to pay more attention, but I feel like they didn't really talk about what happened either. Or did they?
Yeah, I mean, if you pay a real close attention to that cold open from season 1.
Maybe I need to rewatch that.
You'll get it, but you don't understand why she's so pissed. You just see that she's pissed.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think the lore helps understand it a little bit. But that's it. That's all I got so far for the Stormlands. Hope you enjoyed our tour. I wish we had some time for a few other tales from House Baratheon, but we're going to pause here for now. In a future episode, we're definitely going to revisit this little area and do a deep dive on this. There's a knight called the Laughing Storm. He's a pretty central figure in the Dunk and Egg novellas, and there is a show about the Dunk and Egg novellas coming up on HBO soon. It's called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So I'm going to save that lore for closer to when that show comes out.
Sweet.
So stay tuned, explorers.
Explore lore-ers.
Explorers.
Explore lore-lores. Well, it's good to be back.
It is.
We're here. So appreciate you guys listening. We're gonna kind of get back on schedule and start posting again. Check out our social, stay tuned there. But I think that is a wrap for today's journeys into the realms of Westeros and Middle Earth. So we hope you've enjoyed journeying through the histories, mysteries, and fascinating lore of these worlds.
We'll return with insights, laughs, and maybe even some unexpected dragons of wisdom along the way. Next up in our Middle Earth adventure, we will cover the coming of men into the Great War against Morgoth. Over in Westeros, we're headed over to the Reach, where we'll get a brief history of House Tyrell and then do a deep dive on the city of Old Town.
And we encourage you guys to join our conversations on our Instagram at fortheloveof.lore. Share your theories, tell us your grievances, or just chat about how you discovered these epic sagas yourself.
What's your favorite character arc in Game of Thrones? Or your favorite battle scene in The Lord of the Rings? We want to hear from you.
And thank you again for tuning in, and remember, the best adventures are the ones we take together. We swear it by the old gods and the new. Peace.